We'll start with Bill Plunkett. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, Tyler, what has this off season been like for you? Kind of knew you were going to move, I imagine.
Yeah, I kind of knew a while ago. um, so I think like kind of the beginning of the off season, I had a feeling it was going to happen. So I think I was relatively ready for it. I think it worked out better, like best possible scenario going back to the Dodgers. But it's been relatively normal, just like doing travel and stuff in the beginning, like right after season, continuing to train and then coming home and just kind of getting down to like that normal training routine and starting to throw and everything like that.
One of the first things that everybody says about you is premium stuff. However, injury history. How do you feel about I guess that knock against you? Is it fair? Do you think it's behind you? Where do you stand with that?
I mean, given the amount of innings and like amount of injuries the previous years, I think to say that is probably fair. I think that for me, though, it's been the majority of the innings that I've missed have been related to the same injury. And kind of the first time it happened was 2019. It was the first time I injured the UCL, and it was just the same injury, and it happened kind of later in 20 and then 21 again. And finally I got it fixed. And ever since Tommy John, that's felt amazing. I had the oblique last year for a little bit. I could have been just from taking time off and then getting right back up, but I'd never really been prone to injuries or anything until that 2019 UCL sprain or whatever, tear, whatever it was. And ever since I've gotten that fixed, it's never really been something I've thought about. So, I mean, now compared to then, it's night and day. So I'm looking forward to having some healthy seasons for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question is from Fabian Ardaya. Go ahead, Fabian.
Hey, Tyler. Nice to meet you. At what point during the process did they start talking extension with you, and did that catch you by surprise at all? Just sort of knowing that you're a year away from free agency.
It was sort of that though, like kind of talking about the trade. I knew it was something that was like probably going to be. I like needed to agree to something in order to get traded to the Dodgers. I think it was kind of like the package deal, and I think for 1 year they weren't willing to give up the prospects, and I kind of vaguely knew what was going on. I kind of let my agent handle most of it. But no, I mean, it's somewhere I wanted to be my entire life. You know, there was a short list of teams that I wanted to go to, and the Dodgers were on it, and they were very like bullish on trying to get me. And I really appreciated the fact that they like thought so highly of me. And I get to go home and I have all my family there, and it just seemed like a no brainer to me. So, yeah, I'm glad we got it done.
What is that process like, especially with the team that obviously like, you grew up watching those games, but like obviously I hadn't really interacted too much with that front office, sort of negotiating a contract and sort of envisioning a future in a place where you hadn't quite been?
I think it was me and my agent kind of had like a number in mind, and then like obviously he knew I wanted to be there, and it was mostly handled by the front office and my agent. And like I was able to talk to a lot of the front office guys after the deal was done, and but for the most part, I know my agent has a good relationship with everyone there, and it was just kind of there in between stuff. And then we got the deal done, and as I said, like as we talked, I realized like it's such a similar feel to the Rays. I guess the only difference is that the Dodgers have a lot more money. Like it just has like a really similar feel. Everyone's super cool. There's not like, it's very like winning is everything, but not at the expense of like a personality. Like everyone just seems really cool, and that seems to be something that they like. I think the culture is very important to them. And even talking to a lot of the guys on the team and like doing my research around and talking to people that have played for the Dodgers, everyone said the organization, the people, and the players are all first class and cool. So it was like perfect. I like it.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yep.
Next question is from Ron Kavner. Go ahead, Ron.
Hey, Tyler, welcome back to LA. Obviously in the 2020 World Series would have been at Dodger Stadium. You would have probably had chances to start there. Obviously it went a little bit differently than anyone could have imagined. I'm curious how much you've thought about starting games there, a place you obviously know well.
Yeah, it's definitely in my mind. I think just going, like when I was a kid, I used to go to the games and I remember like sitting in the stands and looking at the players in the dugout and just having like overwhelming jealousy of like, I have to go to school tomorrow and you guys get to play baseball. So like the fact that it's come full circle and I'm able to like, I played there prior too, but even just like going there and walking around on the field and stuff and like kind of thinking about that, like when I first get to start there, it definitely gives me like the butterflies. So I'm extremely excited to finally go and get my first start at home and as a Dodger.
There were obviously huge, great stretches of production last year for you. What did last year kind of tell you about your health and where you're at there?
I think for me, it was like that final kind of like hurdle of after I fixed my arm, like you kind of have that amount of time, like the 2-ish year point where everything feels really good. And I just think last year I was on an inning limit anyway. I was only allowed to throw probably or like the amount of starts that I threw. So I think for me, it was just like good. Like I feel healthy. Like for the so many years from 19 to 21, I was always dealing with the same injury, and it honestly felt like it was just very temperamental, and it didn't feel very strong and secure like it had my whole career before. And then I got it fixed, and I think last year just having like no other issues and just like recovering properly and being able to do my routine normally, it was nice to end the season feeling like strong and healthy and like I could throw a lot more innings. So it was just it was a very like freeing feeling, I guess.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question from Kirsten Watson. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Hey, Tyler. Welcome to the Dodgers. I know you mentioned just kind of how special this is for you personally, but just wondering kind of what has been just your family's reaction about you coming back home and kind of this opportunity that's in front of you two with the Dodgers?
They're super excited. So my parents are in Arizona now. My brother and his wife live in Santa Barbara. I have a lot of cousins in Santa Clarita still, and a lot of friends in obviously like in Santa Clarita. So I think it's just been like an overwhelming, like everyone's reached out, said a lot of nice stuff, and my family's ecstatic for sure. And they're like, oh, like get a big house so we can all come stay with you and stuff. So I'm sure I'm gonna see them a lot. So it'll be an awesome experience just to like play for my dream team and like just see my family more and not be like across the country from them.
And then with just kind of everything that's been happening kind of in the news with the Dodgers and free agency and signing Shohei Ohtani and kind of what else is to come, what does that excite you just as to kind of what this team could look like in the near future and you being a part of this now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ecstatic. I think I've watched the Dodgers from afar for so long, and then even like last year, the team was so good. And then I think when Shohei signed, it was like that immediate, like, yeah, I'm going to be on that team. Like, I just want to pick his brain, obviously, and just like know what he's learned. And he just seems like such a cool dude and like probably one of the best baseball players to ever live. So it's just I want to be on a field with that guy, and I'm just extremely excited.
The next question is from Carrie Osborne. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hey, Tyler, welcome back.
Thanks.
Well, when we hear Tommy John surgery, it's usually a negative. But for you, though, how was it a positive and maybe even makes you better going forward?
Yeah, for sure. I think how advanced it is nowadays, and I got that hybrid surgery. It's like kind of like the new evolution of Tommy John with like that synthetic collagen band thing. So it's like in my brain, I have like double the strength, and it was kind of one of those things. I got so used to having that the issue in 19 to where like there was a moment where I kind of assumed, I guess this is just going to have to be something I'm going to deal with my whole career. And then when I did go under and get the surgery, and then it kind of healed and got to where it needed to be, I was like, it's just night and day difference. And it was so nice to feel like not wake up and have soreness and be able to throw and warm up quick and not have to do like a million things to get my arm ready. So it was definitely a positive. It's night and day from what it used to feel like. So I'm really happy to just get like a full season under me.
And you've obviously pitched in a lot of big games in your career. How important is it for you to be on a winning team, but also have the opportunity to pitch in those big games again?
It means everything. I think that's kind of like the evolution of a baseball player. Like you go and like you get on a team and you're like worried about your service time, and then you want to sign a contract. And then I think so much of it, like once you take care of a lot of the things that you can, it's like the only really thing that matters to me anyway is just winning a World Series. And I think the team we're on has an extremely good chance to do it. And I think that's really like not the only thing about baseball, but it's about winning. And I think that's like the number one goal. And that's kind of all my mind is set on right now.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yep.
Next question from Jorge Castillo. Go ahead, Jorge.
Hey, congratulations, Tyler.
Thank you.
Back to Shohei. Apparently he helped you. He recruited you a little bit with a video. I'm wondering what he had to say. And is anybody else who reached out to you during the recruitment process or help, recruit you?
I think when I heard about the Dodgers, I think I called a lot of people who played on the organization and asked a lot of questions, and I've only heard like positive things. And then, Shohei sent me the video, and it was just like, it was awesome. It was really cool to get that video. And he just said, like, he wants me to come on the team and hopes to hit some home runs for me and join me in the pitching staff the following year. So it was an awesome video. I mean, it felt really cool. That's just someone that I also watched from afar, and just what he's able to do on a baseball field. It's nothing short of just insanity. So it was cool. And that definitely added a lot of points for me to go to the Dodgers, So I think his recruitment worked.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question is from Mike DiGiovanna. Go ahead.
Hey, Tyler. Just a follow-up on the extension question. How much did the opportunity to sign long-term with the Dodgers outweigh the potential to, you're a year away from free agency with a really big year to have an even bigger payday?
Yeah, I guess it's never really been about like making as much as I possibly can. It's been a lot more about somewhere I want to be and like the life I guess I could live, just like being comfortable at the field and outside of the field. And I think I was lucky enough with the Rays to like really enjoy my life at the field, because they're just kind of the same as the Dodgers. Like, everyone's a good person, and it's not this crazy high stress atmosphere. It's like you go, everyone's cool, everyone's there to do their job. And then outside of the field too, I was able to relax and enjoy my life. And I think LA was somewhere I really wanted to be. My family's there. And I think there's two ways to look at it. There could be a potential downside from not signing something and a potential upside. And I think for me, it was a plenty of money. Like, I'm super happy with the money, and it's somewhere I'm super happy to be. So I guess I was never super interested in like trying to get as much as I possibly could, but it's just worked out really well for me.
You mentioned going to games there as a kid. How would you sort of describe the degree, the extent of your fandom as a kid?
We go as much as possible, but like anyone else in LA, the traffic was pretty crazy. So we could only, like, my parents would go every now and again, because we live relatively far from Santa Cruz. It could be like an hour to 3 hours. So it was like we could go as much as possible. And then if my friends had tickets or something, we would always try to go. And we were kind of the typical, like, show up in the second, leave in the seventh, just because getting across the Santa Cruz was pretty gnarly. So, but every time I went, it was insane. I think even to this day, like, walking into a stadium, and you kind of go for when you walk in and you get the feels, and like you feel the energy of everything and the music there, and like that huge speaker in center. You remember things as a little kid, and they look so crazy and large and overwhelming. And then even as an adult going there, just being like, this is such a huge show. And it has always been one of my favorite places to play. So it's I'm excited to go back there and like soak it all up again.
Favorite player?
Sean Green was pretty cool when I was growing up. And then Kershaw was like a no-brainer for me. Just watching him pitch was like, and he was so young when he first got to the big leagues. And I remember too watching him when I was younger, being like, how is this guy in the big leagues at like 20? So I watched him a ton, and he's my favorite.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
I got time for a couple more. Go ahead, Eric.
Sorry, Tyler, I was looking at your numbers from last year, and your slider and curveball, like you had your highest run value at Baseball Savant on those pitches. Have those pitches evolved for you? Are you doing anything different, like after coming back, or is it just kind of how it played out last year?
Yeah, I think it just kind of like being out a little bit. I definitely, there was more sweep to it for sure. I got a little bit more left, right. And then as the season went on, it was kind of more of that was like something I was trying to get back to, getting it more like 12-6, more vertical. I want my slider to move that way a little bit. So like that was fine with the slider, but my curveball, as it was getting more sweepy, I think it was just more about like a directional thing down the mound and coming back and getting used to what I used to do before. But I think a game that stands out especially was like Boston, the last game of season. I got back to feeling like I was kind of back to what I was before, and then like working on it again this offseason. So I think it was just kind of like a little change from maybe taking a little bit of time off, but for the most part, my stuff stayed the same. It was just like a little bit of a shape difference. And I think this year that my goal is to kind of get back to that, like more of that 12-6 shape for sure.
And at least on the team's website, you're listed as number 31. Is that something you got to pick? And if so, what went into that choice?
Yeah, it was my number in Little League all the time. And like Ravens baseball, like our travel team, I always wanted to be 31. And so I was picking numbers and I was like, this is perfect. I'm going back home and 31's available. So I chose 31.
Thanks.
Yep.
Last one's from Fado Franklin. Go ahead.
Hey, Tyler, what did you learn about yourself as you had obstacles and injuries that you had to overcome in your career?
That injuries suck and they like definitely test you mentally, but I think as long as you like keep a day-to-day set of goals as opposed to being like in 5 months I'll be able to do this and then that, I think I learned that the most, like having like little individual goals every day. It kind of keeps you from being so crazy in your brain. And I think you can kind of translate that into baseball and like life, I guess. But I think it's like the little victories. It sounds super like cliche and everything, but I think as long as you can like something, you get a little better at something or like hit a milestone every day, it maybe isn't as hard to, like when you kind of dip down. Like it's such a roller coaster, but if you keep your goals day by day, it seems to help me a lot. So that's probably the number one thing that I learned.
And you do a lot for your community. What does it mean that you can contribute to society outside of playing baseball in a positive manner?
Yeah, it's great. I think too, especially like within the off season and stuff, you have so much time off, and then in season, it's also just something I enjoy doing. You know, kind of like I think a lot of times in season you can kind of get into the head. So if you're not doing well or the team's not playing well, you can kind of like get into a little woe is me mentality, and like I guess you can take a step back and be like, it's not that big of a deal. You know, like I'm playing a game and I'm trying as hard as I can, and I think going out and helping people who maybe are like less fortunate or anything like that, it can kind of give you like a good perspective. And it's just nice to like help a community out, especially when you live somewhere for so long and you feel a part of the community. It just feels good to like help everyone. You kind of have that like village mentality, and it's the same as like a team when you're all working together and helping one another. It makes you feel better, and that kind of makes everyone else feel better. It's like a win-win for everybody.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.